All right, call the meeting to order of this Monday, July 1st special board meeting. And Mr. Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Mr. Chair, we have 6 in attendance, 1 dialing in remote. We have all 7 are in attendance.
Okay, and I will point out that Director Courtney Cavalier is currently located at 6 Steeple Tree in Mashpee, Massachusetts. She will be fully participating as a voting board member in the board meeting via Google Hangouts. Is that what we've got, or do we have something else? Doesn't matter. She's here virtually, so welcome all. I would ask for oh no, we should do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments? Any additions? There can't be a subtraction. There's only one on there. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Our agenda item tonight, and we'll do a general motion in second to just start this, but it is to consider and select a plan to fill the position of superintendent of schools. Is there a motion to consider this item?
I'll move to consider this item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and now we will have discussion. I'll just start out by saying school boards have several options at this point, one of them which is to not have a superintendent. We are required by law to have a superintendent and to name and supervise that individual. Typically, we could do a search, we could hire a firm to do a search, we could appoint somebody, promote somebody from within, we could appoint an interim, and an interim could be anybody with a license or a retired individual, and I'm not sure of other options, although there might be some, but that's certainly enough for us to consider. Discussion.
I understand there's a time frame by which we need to have an interim in place. Do any of us know what that is?
Depending on the individual, it would range from when we can name that individual and then get a contract in place. In the absence of a superintendent, we have people that are designated as acting superintendents that may not have a license. We have an individual on school staff with a license. And ultimately, the school board chairperson can act in case of an emergency.
Okay.
I think it's our intention to appoint somebody as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Further discussion?
How fast can we act?
As soon as somebody makes, you mean date-wise or right now?
No, I'm sorry, yeah, date-wise.
Okay.
In terms of
we
calendar.
could select somebody tonight.
Okay.
And contact that individual and then work out the arrangements. And it's been suggested that if we do select somebody, we'd move as quickly as we possible to get a contract. And we have Yvette and Jason and I are in the negotiations team. We would do that and then try to have somebody, maybe a special meeting next Monday night. I know we toyed with that, whether we need a special meeting or not, and we're thinking now that we would to approve the contract if we select a superintendent tonight, if possible.
We're in discussion phase, or do we need a motion?
Well, we certainly can have a motion.
Well, I just want more discussion, so.
Okay.
Okay, so former Superintendent Sesker just retired.
Yes.
Do we know his availability to, if we wanted him to come back on an interim basis for a year or 2 years, or what that may look like, what that may not look like? Yeah. It's my understanding that if he was agreeable to something like that, there would actually be a savings for the district compared to his contract that was just in place, but I'm not certain of all that.
Yeah. He is available.
Okay.
And if you employ a superintendent who is officially retired from the TRA system, you do not pay that individual TRA, which is a potential savings of $10,000 to $14,000 for the district. There are can be other benefits, depends on what you negotiate. Generally, there's no contribution or accrual of any pension plan or banking sick leaves beyond the term of the internship. And so there's some cost savings there. Employing a retired superintendent also, at this point, saves us the cost and expense of hiring a search firm, the delay. We'd almost have to hire, we have to hire an interim superintendent anyway if we decided tonight, no, we wanted to do a search and have somebody on board as quickly as possible. The reality is the supply of superintendents in July 1st is not what it'll be if a board declares their intention in January or December or sometime like that, so.
So, I'm a big believer in stability when stability is a good thing. We just had a turnover in our finance department of our major controller or CFO, if you will. And if Mr. Sesker is available, I'm all in favor of authorizing yourself and Jason and Yvette to work something out with him, whether it be at 1 year, 2 year, whatever you determine. He has consistently gotten excellent reviews from the board. He was, I don't know, a couple years ago, Superintendent of the Year. So with that, I'll motion that we authorize the three of you to engage with him and bring him back.
Okay.
He would have to amend the motion on the floor, right? We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, it's not been seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Do we want more? Okay.
You want more details?
I think we need
More discussion?
perhaps more discussion.
Okay, so I'll pull that off for now.
Okay, well, the motion's been withdrawn.
So I'm curious about the, like Chad, I'm in favor of making an offer to Superintendent Sesker, particularly with our levy coming up this fall. I think having a consistent voice is going to be key to success there, and all the relationships, and trying to start over in the middle of that process seems like a bad idea. So I'm in favor of the consistency. I'm curious about timescale at the moment. If people wanted to pursue a 3-year contract, the way that you would with hiring a new superintendent, would they prefer a 1-year contract I think, if I remember correctly, Superintendent Sesker just retired after 2 years of his 3-year contract. So in some sense, you might have a third year of that contract to just finish out the contract we were just on. So I'm curious, as somebody who would end up being on the negotiating committee, if that's the direction we go, if there's a preference for time frame. My personal preference is always to establish things for 3 years out. I think consistency and stability are key there. But I'm perfectly willing to support the will of the board on this.
Okay, other comments?
I can chime in if you guys can hear me okay.
Yes.
I agree that it'd be nice to have some consistency in the coming months and not bring in an external interim or take on a search at this time. But I think I'd be leaning towards a 1-year extension or 1-year completion of the contract so that we have more time to think about this and think about whether we're ready to take on a search come December. I'm going to sign my mic off because I hear a lot of background noise. I think you guys heard me.
Yes, we heard you.
And the only thing I'll clarify is that it can't be a continuation of his contract because he did resign. And we accepted that, so it's not a continuation. I think it's important to point out that Mr. Sesker received very favorable reviews from this board within the last month, and he was under contract for us next year anyway. And the only thing that changed was he retired. And just so people understand, there are advantages to that individual in terms of his retirement that makes sense for him to do so. So it's not like he was wanting to leave us high and dry or anything like that, but it does make sense. And it actually makes sense for most school boards, obviously, because of the potential savings.
Can you remind me what the motion is?
We don't have one right now.
We don't have one. Anybody else want to weigh in? I do have a motion ready.
I'll weigh in. I also think believe we're in a crossroads right now. We have an upcoming levy, which is very, very important. We also have the beginning of some contract negotiations with our employees out there as well. And so I think consistency with that format is very important. I believe in a one-year extension or to fill out the 1 year. I would like to see us discuss probably in October or first part of November and establish a firm to search for new superintendent candidates at that time and possibly have see what applicants are out there, candidates are out there for us to consider and interview and then move forward with that. But right now I think everything moved really fast. I think of the delay or the lateness of notification of retirement that put us in a situation where this is the best alternative for the district and for the community at this time.
I guess I would just add, I would support offering the position to Todd Sesker. I think we do need to rely on his leadership as we go through our requests to the community for a levy, and also just as we look at overall programming going forward for the next year and our financial situation. I think he has been a leader in both those areas, and I would definitely support him continuing with us.
Okay, for the discussion, I will offer a motion to offer a one-year interim contract to Mr. Todd Sesker to begin on July 9th. And along with that, that's maybe enough in a motion, but we would have a special meeting next Monday night to hopefully approve a contract with Mr. Sesker. So offer a one-year interim contract to Mr. Sesker to begin July 9th.
Second.
Okay, now it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion?
Mr. Chair, just for clarification purposes, if we do offer him a one-year contract, he accepts. If we then follow Mr. Bellingham's suggestion and we were to explore or entertain or engage a search firm later this year, does that preclude us from possibly bringing him back for a second year if we aren't happy with the candidate pool or anything of that nature? I just don't want to get us into a box that we're not happy with something. I want to make sure all of our options are completely open.
Right. What this does is contractually ties us with Mr. Sesker until June 30th of next year. And if any time in between that time the board decides they want to look at a superintendent to begin July 1st of 2020, we have the option to do that. And the option could be to not do a search and keep Mr. Sesker here, to offer him a 3-year contract, to say we want to look outside. We have all those options available. We're not making any decision about that tonight with my motion.
Yeah. So we're not boxed in any form or fashion.
Not with my motion.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion?
I agree with John Bellingham. He said what I was trying to say more eloquently, so I appreciate that, and I've been off my microphone again. So I like your motion, John.
Okay.
Sorry, John Dury.
Okay. All right. Any final discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we offer an interim one-year contract to Mr. Todd Sesker to begin work on July 9th of 2019, pending a contract offer and acceptance, which would be approved by this body on Monday, July 8th at 5:30 p.m.
And just to verify, the three of you can.
We will
You're
negotiate.
confident you have time in here in the next week to get this figured. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.